You're listening to The Lyndia Grant Show. Think on these things with Lyndia Grant.
Well, good evening, Radio 1 listeners. Today is Friday, July 14th. It's good to be here with you again today. We've got another special show lined up for you. I'm happy to have as my special guest, Dr. Alethia Tucker. She is an author, motivational speaker, inspirational speaker, entrepreneur, among many other things. Dr. Julianne Malvo just came back today, this week, from her trip abroad. So she's not going to be able to be with us today. She's going to have to get settled, and hopefully we can have her on again next Friday. So Dr. Alethia and I are going to have the whole entire show. So thank you for tuning in out there in Radio Land. Alethia, I just want to let the folks know you got another big day coming up. You got a conference. You got all kinds of things going on. And you can talk about both, but I want to emphasize today that you're going to be talking about a launch of a new book that I'm happy to be a part of called Reinvented to Rise 2. It's your second edition of this, and a documentary. Talk to us about that, Alethia.
Wow. Thank you so much, Lyndia. It is indeed an honor to be on your show. I appreciate this tremendously. I know that you have been in the community for quite some time, and when you talk, people listen. So I'm glad to be on the show where people are going to listen.
Thank you. Thank you. I enjoy it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So you are right. And again, I'm happy that you are a part of what we have launching. So as you know, Volume 2 of our book, Reinvented to Rise, came out earlier this year. And what I wanted to do this time, which is a little different from what I did with Reinvented to Rise Volume 1, I wanted to record a documentary with the authors to make sure that we not just relay our story of reinvention, but also, as Paul Harvey used to say, tell the rest of the story. Mm-hmm. So what we've done in this is to create a documentary where we're telling more. We come together, we discuss what reinvention means to us. We talk a little about what we did in the stories that we tell in the book about reinvention. Mm-hmm. But the panel, the documentary rather, is just taking it further. It is telling people what it means, what it feels like to start life anew, to go through trying times and situations where we have to build upon what we've gone through to get to our next level. And you are among the women that I have in this documentary, and it has turned out to be an awesome, awesome product. It is something that I know that those who see it will be able to take away all kinds of tidbits from it that are going to help them to elevate from where they are right now and to encourage them, as I always say in much of what I do, that it is never, ever too late to reinvent.
Alethia,
so I'm excited about that.
Tell listeners who may not have heard about our book, anthology, I love to say that, tell them who the guests are. You don't have to tell them this chapter or story, but just let's share the names of all of the authors and anything else you want to know, and then tell us also about this big celebration you got coming up.
Absolutely. Well,
we may be able to talk about the second celebration in the first half. So let's use, before we go to a commercial break, the opportunity to talk about who all is involved.
Sure. So the people that are in this documentary, I'm excited to say, are Jacqueline Scott. We have Dr. Tabitha Russell, Dr. Deidre Hill. We have Pixie Lee, Candy Martin, Dr. Pamela Straker. We have Lyndia Grant, and myself, Dr. Alethia Tucker. Now, in addition to the authors, we have been fortunate to actually bring in some real trailblazers, some history makers that I was able to interview and include their testimonies and their stories in the book as well. And let me tell you, between the authors and the trailblazers, these are some really powerful stories in the book, and of course what we talk about on the documentary as well. So those trailblazers include Dr. Pat Ramsey, who is the president of Medgar Evers College. We also have Dr. Zena Pierre, who held a high-ranking position under the Clinton administration and is also the first pastor of her home church, the first female pastor of her home church. We also have Dr. Williams Skinner, who is going to also share with us, as we know, she and her husband started the National Black Caucus Prayer Breakfast. So she's with us as well. And then we also talked to Trailblazer Judge Wanda Keys Heard, who is from the 8th Judicial Circuit Court in Baltimore, and she was the first female judge to be to preside over that court. So those are all the people who are in the book. Mm-hmm. And I said Dr. William Skinner. I meant to say Dr. Barbara Williams Skinner.
I was going to add that because I know most people know Barbara. I'm so glad
let me put her first name in there as well with the Skinner Institute. And so we've really been blessed to just have a wealth of history, a wealth of knowledge, a wealth of information, like I said, that we as women need to hear. Hey, even the men need to hear, because there comes a time when they have to reinvent too. Yes. And I was fortunate enough to be able to have all of these people as a part of the book and participating in the documentary as well.
Well, tell us about this friend that we now all know over in Baltimore with this lovely company down at the harbor.
Absolutely. Vanya Pettigrew, who is a part of Root Branch Media. She is not in the book. However, she will also be a part of the event that day. She is, I believe, she probably has one of the largest, if not the largest, production studios in downtown Baltimore. And she is the person who came forward and agreed to do this project with us. She filmed our documentary. We spent a weekend putting it together, spent a weekend getting to know one another and to continue the story. And she and her team captured our stories, and she in herself is a trailblazer, starting out, in what she's done and where she's going. So I'm very excited about all pieces of this project.
And I want to say what I remember most about her is that she is the first Black-owned property owner on the harbor. I think I remember that. Was that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Oh, she's got a large space, you all.
She has an entire block.
I want to give her some publicity right here because I love it.
Yeah.
We got to always, all of us, everybody in the book, is something that, and we're going to go to a commercial break, but I want to say, before we go to the break, if Dr. Tucker will talk to us about her first book, just briefly, and then we'll go to our commercial break, and when we return, we'll talk about what's coming up.
Sure. So Reinvented to Rise Volume 1 came about during a period in my life where there was so much that was really kind of meeting and causing me to really contemplate exactly, was I operating in my purpose? I had gone kind of through a bout of depression. It was shortly after my father passed away. I had really started to hit that point where I was saying, my kids are graduating and going to college. I'm kind of approaching retirement age. What do I really want to do with this second half of my life? and what is it that is really meaningful to me. And that is what birthed Reinvented to Rise. When I went through those questions and kind of determined how it is I wanted to look at life, I did reinvent and wondered how many other women out there went through the same thing. I identified some of those women, and they tell their stories, and that is what pulled together the very first volume of Reinvented to Rise.
Amen. And our book is already an Amazon bestseller. We're going to talk more to Dr. Alethia Tucker about this book being an Amazon bestseller, and she's going to invite you all out and tell you all what's going to happen on August 12th. We're going to go to a commercial break, and we'll be back in a moment to talk more with Dr. Alethia Tucker. Back in a moment.
If it wasn't for my care coach at AmeriHealth, I probably wouldn't be so healthy right now. As a man, we don't get checkups or see a doctor regularly anyways. It's probably just a man thing because none of my partners go either. We know we should, but we just don't, and hope it works out.
So what changed for you?
AmeriHealth assigned me a care coach, somebody that gives one-on-one help, answer questions, explain things, and help set my appointments. She also helped me understand what having high blood pressure really means and ways to manage it so it doesn't kill me. It ain't nothing to play with. If you're a member of AmeriHealth, ask for a care coach. I'm glad I got mine.
At AmeriHealth, if you need a care coach, you can have one. Just call us at 1-877-759-6224 to get connected. 1-877-759-6224. This program is funded in part by the government of the District of Columbia Department of Healthcare Finance. Mayor Muriel Bowser.
Washington and former religion columnist Lyndia Grant.
Ida B. Wells, born into enslavement, was a journalist and activist. An avid reader, she read through the entire Bible many times. Wells was once asked to leave the ladies' car and sit in the colored train. She refused, and train officials pushed her. Ida B. Wells retaliated, but was pushed off the train at the next stop. A crowd of whites applauded. She vowed to get even. 3 of her close friends were lynched for opening businesses that cut into profits of whites. Everything changed for Wells. She spoke out internationally against lynching of blacks for the rest of her life. Through her efforts, lynching in America nearly disappeared by the time of her death. And NAACP founder, we salute Ida B. Wells for Women's History Month.
Read more in the religion column of the Washington Informer, an award-winning African-American newspaper. We don't report crime or gossip, just positive news. Pick up the Washington Informer or visit us online at WashingtonInformer.com. Call 202-561-4100 for more information.
This is Frank Smith with the African American Civil War Museum in Washington, D.C., located at 1925 Vermont Avenue Northwest on the Green Line. Did you know that a recent study found that children who visit museums do better in school and in life than children who do not? So parents, teachers, and preachers, let's get moving. I promise you, if you bring your children to the African American Civil War Museum, they will be inspired by the images that they see. They will be impressed by our living history reenactors who are always available, and they will be involved in our scavenger hunt that takes them throughout our exhibit. That's the African American Civil War Museum, 1925 Vermont Avenue. Our hours are 10 to 6:30 on weekdays, 12 to 4 on Saturdays and Sundays. See it. Be inspired.
Thank you for tuning in to the Lyndia Grant Show. We are talking today to Dr. Alethia Tucker. She is talking about her second book, Reinvented to Rise. It is an anthology, which means it's a group of writers, and each one of us have our own chapter. And it is an Amazon bestseller. So on August 12th, she's got a pretty big event planned. So, Dr. Tucker, let's go back now and talk about a little bit more about the event that we want to invite everybody to attend.
Absolutely. I would love to talk about that. So we are having the official screening of the documentary, Reinvented to Rise, and I'm so excited about that. That's the documentary I've been talking about. That's based on Volume 2. That's happening August 12th down at the Alamo Drafthouse Cinema in D.C. over on Rhode Island Avenue at 3 o'clock from 3 to 6, and you can pick up tickets for that at Eventbrite, and we'll be sure to give information on the link to getting those but that is promising to be an awesome red carpet event for us. It's a real time of celebration, and I'm really, really excited about it.
And that's Rhode Island Avenue Northeast, you all.
Yes, Rhode Island Avenue Northeast.
I know part of it is in Northwest, so I want to make sure they know where they're going.
Exactly. You're right. Thank you for that.
Okay. So at that event on August 12th, we're all excited about them. Tell them all what's going to be going on there that day, besides a panel. I know we're going to have a panel discussion, but just walk them through what they can expect so that we can hopefully make them want to get a ticket.
Yes, so please, we would love to see you in the place. We will have, of course, the screening of the documentary. Followed by that, we are going to have a panel that's going to consist of our trailblazers and, of course, our authors, the stars of this. We're going to be there, and we'll be telling more. What is it that we can do with this reinvention process that we've gone through? We'll delve more into that. We'll talk about what the future of reinvention looks for those women who are coming behind us and give insight on how it is that we made it through and how it is that they can make it through as well. Mm-hmm. So that's just a little of what the panel will discuss. I have a well-known motivational speaker and someone who is a life coach, your destiny life coach, Dr. Marcia Whitaker, who's going to be there as the facilitator for the panel. And once we do the screening and we conduct our panel, I am also giving the annual award to the recipient, to the person who is being selected as the winner for this year. I do an award. Actually, this is the second time I've done the award in memory of my cousin, Kimberly McCormick, who passed away from COVID at the age of 50. I say she was my cousin. She was really my little sister. And to this date, I don't know anyone who exhibited the strength, the character, and the perseverance that she had. I have chosen to remember her and to commemorate her memory with an award given to the woman for strength, character, and perseverance. So we will be giving that award this year as well. So that is kind of how we will culminate things, with also questions and answers and from our audience and book signings, of course. You can't go and not provide books and do signings. So all of that will be a part of our festivities that day.
Well, I just want to say I'm excited about it. It kind of reminds me of folks who have book clubs, folks who love to read. This is for you. And some of those who maybe don't even read too much, but this will be an exciting opportunity for you to read a series of short stories, because each one is a short story that you will be able to get the gist of what it is we're saying, and then go on and see, okay, well, let's see what the next one is talking about. It's very exciting. I remember when I read the book Roots years ago when it came out, Alethia. It's like, I think it's over 1,000 pages. I was stuck sitting there just reading all the time. So this is still a good book for you to go from front to back nonstop, but at least it's easy in case your life is very busy. You can read a few chapters and you can go get the other ones. What do you think about that?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's the kind of thing that you can even read a story a day, a story a night, you know, and I tell you, if you start reading it, though, it's going to be very difficult to put it down and not continue reading past just that first story. But it's something that, of course, you can do at your own pace. It's motivational. It's inspirational. It is a read that you're going to get knowledge from, as well as be inspired and motivated to just do great things.
And Alethia, I'd like for you to tell them, and then we're going to get back to August the 12th. I love the story you talk about, something that happened to you when you were young. Tell us that story of you.
So when I was the age of 16, I was in a tragic accident. I was, while walking to the bus stop to go to school, I was hit by a vehicle, by a school bus. And the experience that I went through that I still deal with even post that accident, because it was really, really a life-altering accident for me. It truly changed my life in that I almost, number one, I almost lost my life, but it also changed my life in that even surviving it, I was in a pretty bad situation because I was on the verge of losing a limb because of it, mainly definitely my foot. So that story at my young age really had an effect on me, to say the least, and it has taught me some valuable lessons as I've grown up, into an adult, of course, and those are lessons that I rely on. I talk about plugging into your journey. I plug into that experience to help me to see and to gain the insight that I need to push forward during those days when it really gets hard. I remember the tragedy and the lessons that were taught to me as a result of it. And those are the things that help me to keep on. It's one of the things that helped me to reinvent. And that's why I tell the story in the book.
It's amazing because when I met Alethia, you would never know anything like that had happened. She's up there with Les Brown and Willie Jolly and all those. She'd be on programs with them as an inspirational and motivational speaker. I'm so thankful and happy that she was willing to allow me to be a part of this team. I've only known her about 3 or 4 years maybe, but it's just exciting to work with someone who has reinvented herself even from when she was young and still had the nerve to still want to get up and do even more and just keep pushing. So I'm hoping that I'm saying this because I know Les Brown used to talk about there are more people in the graveyard more dreams in the graveyard because people had dreams and they never tried to make them become a reality. Whether you fail or succeed, we all have to try. And you don't want to learn from somebody who hasn't tried. This young lady is someone to be admired because of how much she has endured. Think about how many people might have had hope knocked out of them at that time. But she has gone on, and not only did she do these 2 books, what other books have you written? I've seen them out there.
Oh, my goodness. So I've done Daddy's Girl, which is another anthology based on some authors. We are authors who have all lost our fathers, whose fathers have gone on, but we continue the legacy. And we tell our stories in there of how we carry on the legacies of our fathers. I'm also, my very first book was 50 Things That I've Learned on My Way to 50. And that was the thing that really began my reinvention process. It started out as a bookmark of things that I wanted to have as a giveaway for my birthday party, for my 50th birthday party. And those 50 lessons that I wrote down really turned into a book with inspirational messages as well as scriptures to back them up.
But so can I jump in and say that's where the Holy Spirit talks to us, and you either listen to it or you don't. So you heard these things being said in your spirit, and you moved on them. That's the people. Yeah. That's the opposite of those folks that Les Brown is talking about that die with those dreams and those hopes. Les talks about how they came to your bedside and you had a play in you and you didn't give me life, and you had a book and you had this and you had that. I hope that you all will want to come to our event so that you may get more courage to want to do whatever it is that the Holy Spirit has included in your spirit.
Absolutely, Lyndia. It got to the point where the Lord had just really pressed in my spirit, if you don't do it now, then what are you waiting for? When do you plan to do it? Mm-hmm. I've been talking, even writing that first book for years. It sat and collected dust. And like I said, when my father passed away, that was a real catalyst in my life. And that pushed me to finally get up and to do those things that I know God had purposed in my life to do. I needed to walk out that purpose. And I started there, and I started my company, and I started inspiring and working with women to help them
and
to
she does stuff
too.
every day, Facebook. Alethia, I don't want us to run out of time. I'm trying to tell them more about you. And for those who don't know, look up Alethia Tucker. But tell folks how to get tickets. We only got a couple of more minutes, and I want you to tell them what they need to know to get their tickets, and then we can do your closing statement.
Sure. So tickets are available on Eventbrite, and the URL for Eventbrite, I don't know if it's easier to list it or just how we want to do that, Lyndia, but they are listed on Eventbrite, and it's under Reinvented to Rise documentary screening. Mm-hmm. So you can get them at www.eventbrite.com/E/667-4885-3797. So you see what I mean when I say that is a long URL in there. Yes. But again, it is on eventbrite.com/E/667-4885-3797.
And if you want to give them a phone number or
sure,
email address so that somebody might want some help. I know
absolutely
our WYCB listeners are little medium age to mature audience, so they might need some help.
Absolutely. I can be reached via email at atucker, and that's T like Tom, so ATUCKER. And my company's name is Jolise Enterprises, and that is spelled JOLEASE with enterprises behind it. So atucker@joliseenterprises.com. I'm also on the web at joliseenterprises.com. And I can be reached at 202-810-2334. And that is my business line.
All right. Well, thank you, Dr. Alethia Tucker. I'm so happy that you are hosting us. I'm included, you all. I will be there and hope that all of you listening will want to get a ticket and come out. And even if you don't have any goals, maybe someone in your family, you want to come out and be inspired by all of these women that are doing great things. Thank you for being my guest today.
Thank you so much, Lyndia, for having me. And I am so honored that we were able to work on this project together. And I can't wait to celebrate with you.
All right. Thank you. And I can't thank you enough. All right. That does it for our show this week. Listeners, I'm so happy you were able to tune in to the Lyndia Grant Show to hear from my guest today, Dr. Alethia Tucker, inspirational, motivational speaker, inviting you out for red carpet event and unveiling of our new book and documentary. Then I invite you out to my church every chance I get. I am now the music ministry leader, and we're looking for singers. So if you can sing, and you're not attached to a church, we're not trying to take anybody, please come out to the All Nations Baptist Church, number 2 Rhode Island Avenue Northeast, where our pastor is the Reverend Dr. James Coleman. We look forward to seeing you on Sunday, and if you want to give me a call about joining the choir, my number is 240-602-6295. And I close with this each and every week. Words, thoughts, and deeds have a boomerang effect, so be careful what you send out. Scripture says, my people perish for the lack of knowledge. So think on these things from the Lyndia Grant Show. I'm your host, Lyndia Grant. Until next week, good day.
Thank you for listening to The Lyndia Grant Show. Think on these things with your host, Lyndia Grant.